The war in Ukraine now, and Russia has struck a Red Cross humanitarian truck in Ukraine, killing 3 people, according to Ukraine's president. Volodymyr Zelenskyy posted this image to social media, saying the convoy was traveling through the eastern Donetsk region. Zelenskyy is calling for governments and international organizations to respond firmly. Moscow has not yet commented. Meanwhile, Poland's foreign minister says Washington needs to do more to boost Ukraine's capabilities against Russia. Radoslaw Sikorski has been meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Sikorski says Ukraine should be given permission to use long-range weapons to strike further into Russia. Washington has been hesitant to allow Kyiv to strike inside Russian territory because of concerns over how Moscow would react. Now, Blinken's trip to Warsaw comes just a day after he and the British Foreign Secretary David Lammy met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy in Kyiv. They pledged to provide almost $1.5 billion in aid to Ukraine to repair its energy infrastructure destroyed by Russian strikes. Zelenskyy also asked for the U.S. to lift restrictions on using weapons inside Russia. Blinken has said he would pass that message to President Joe Biden. Well, let's get the view on this from Moscow. Yulia Shapovalova joins us from the Russian capital. What's been the reaction there to these latest developments, Yulia?
Well, of course, it is a very sensitive issue for Russia. Therefore, we hear a chorus of Russian official voices saying that Russia will retaliate. So the main reaction to Britain's permission given to Ukraine to use these Storm Shadow missiles, as well as the widely expected announcement by the US that it also allows Ukraine to use its ATACMS missiles for strikes against Russia, all that will lead to Russia being forced to respond using more powerful and more destructive weapons, protecting its citizens. That's according to Russian officials. They now say that they have the right to respond to any massive strikes on Russian territory with tactical nuclear weapons. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, as well as head of the Russian Foreign Ministry Sergei Lavrov, have said the decision to allow Ukraine to use long-range weapons to strike at Russian territory was made a long time ago. And according to Sergei Lavrov, the targets for Ukraine are residential buildings in Russia, its energy and industrial infrastructure, as well as social facilities. So the war quite predictably continues spiraling up, which makes the whole world hold its breath.
And so then, you know, Russia has threatened to respond throughout the conflicts now to Western countries supplying certain weapons to Ukraine. But, you know, even with the incursion into the Kursk region a month ago, we didn't see the expected Russian response then. What is the red line today for Moscow as far as Western support for Ukraine is concerned?
Well, of course, Moscow keeps speaking about some sort of red lines and about the ways it's going to retaliate. And some might say that Russia continues cyber rattling. Some say that Russia has every right to defend itself, its territory. Of course, we've heard many times from the Western countries that as Russia continues pounding Ukrainian infrastructure with its long-range weapons, Ukraine has to be given permission to strike back. And back in June, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan spoke about the possibility of expanding the zone of use of the Western weapons. But now many sources say that might have accelerated the decision to allow Ukraine to use the Western weapons. The news about Iran, that it had transferred short-range ballistic missiles to Russia. Presumably, they were talking about Fatah 300 missiles, which can reach targets at a distance of up to 110 kilometers. So what is interesting is that what is actually Iran receiving in return for its missiles from Russia? Probably it's something the US and Israel do not want Iran to have, like Russia's multi-role Su-35S fighter jets or power air defense systems or satellite space technology. So, as I said, the conflict is far from being finished.
Yulia, thank you very much. That's Yulia Shapovalova live there in Moscow.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.